Hello, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the 30-day challenge. We are still doing things a little bit modified because of my injury. But today I wanted to share with you some of the exercises I've been doing. I think they're really helpful for everybody, even if you're not injured, just to build strength around the low back and the hip joint, which is what I'm working with. I have a slight scoliosis, and I've had several major injuries to my lower body and my back over my life. And it's really important to keep up the work of stabilizing these muscles, which is potentially something that I let go to the wayside a little too much in the last few years. But I appreciate you coming with me on this journey. I do feel a bit like I'm reminded of a few years ago. I dislocated my knee, and I was teaching on crutches, and a lot of my teaching involved balance poses and things that I could do with only one leg. And again, I've said it a couple of times this week, but this is the practice. It's continuing to show up with what you have. And this is what I have today. And so it'll be a relatively short practice. It's just 5 exercises that we'll do on each side. And we are working with isolated sides. When you have imbalances like I do, it's actually great when you know what the imbalance is. So don't self-diagnose, get checked out by somebody who knows what they're talking about. But when you have imbalances, it's really good to isolate the sides. So we'll be working isolated, just because that's how you work these imbalances. And we will be doing the same repetitions on each side. But when you are working with imbalances, please note that you don't always have to do the same thing on each side, but you do have to know what your imbalance is, and you have to know the amount of repetitions to increase. So, we often say in yoga to modify per side, and that definitely can work with the practice we're about to do today, as long as you know what your imbalance is. So anyway, that being said, what we're working on today is hip and lower back stability. So specifically focusing on a lateral pelvic tilt. So meaning that your pelvis, if this is your stomach and this is your pelvis, that it's tilting to one side. But if you don't have any sort of problems, this is still a great practice. Again, just to work these stabilizing muscles that are important for posture, they're important for balance, and overall, it's really great to do this kind of conditioning work. So I'll shut up, and with that being said, please have at least one block. We will need it towards the latter half of the practice. Let's start on your stomach. Make a pillow with your hands, so rest your forehead down onto your hands. Your legs are stretched out behind you. You should feel both hip points pressing firmly into the mat. The toes are reaching back behind you. Scoot a little bit more forward just so my leg is more visible to you. And then with your right leg, keep the right hip down and lift the leg as much as you can without lifting the hip. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift as high as you can. You should feel the hip even pressing firmly into the mat. Lower down. You should not feel this in the low back, just in the hip, maybe even in the hamstring. Lift. Lower, 3. Inhale, lift. Lower, 4. Inhale, lift. Lower, 5. Inhale, lift. Lower, 6. Lift. and lower. Keeping the belly engaged. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. I just heard my Florida come out there. Relaxed. Sorry. And last time, lift, hold, reach out through the toes. Again, the hip should be down, so you should not feel this in the low back, but maybe the glute and hamstring, inner thigh are on fire. And release down. So we'll keep working that right leg. Roll over onto the right side of the body. Bend the left knee, bring the left foot in front. We have been doing this one a lot lately. And I think I mentioned that it's one I should do more often. And here I am getting caught in that trap. So right toes point slightly down. The foot is flexed. As you inhale, lift and lengthen. So we're not just lifting straight up. We're actually pressing the foot out away from us and lower down. Lift and down. Down. Keeping the breath full. Seeing what you can relax. So everything that's not working here should be relatively relaxed. Lift it up and we're going to pulse up, 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 up. Up and hold as high as you can. And lower down. You can stay where you are and just roll to the other side. I'm going to change sides just so my back isn't too ill. And so you'll line yourself up so that the hips and shoulders are in one line. And that your knees are at a 90-degree angle. So you want the heel in line with the hip, and then the knees bent in front of you. So heels, hips, shoulders, head in a line, knees are out in front. So again, just to be really clear, it's not knees in line with hips at a 90-degree angle. You have a 90-degree angle, the legs are slightly back. Sorry to oversimplify that, but it's something that in this exercise, I think for a really long time, I did incorrectly. So from here, and then take this hip, the top hip most likely will be pulling back so that your top knee is slightly behind the bottom knee. Roll the hip forward so that the knees are absolutely in a line. Keep that. You can use this right arm to balance. The feet, the inner sides of the feet will stay connected and you'll lift and lower. Lift and lower. You may recognize this from Pilates. Lift and lower. Pull the belly in and up. Lift. Lower. So you should feel like a squeeze just here where the hamstring meets the glute. And I know for me this is a bit of a weak connection. It was something back in my ice skating days my coach was always working on with me. And it seems that so much time later I'm still working on that weakness. 3 more. Last one, hold up. Keep holding, keep pressing that right knee back. And lower down. So we'll move to the other side and then we have a couple standing exercises to do. So come back onto your belly. And so if you have an imbalance, there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can do more reps on one side. Ideally, I would actually just stop after doing this side because this is my weaker side, and by a lot. But for the sake of this class, we'll do both sides. It never hurts to do both sides and just add reps for your weaker side. Or another method is to do the weaker side last and stop when it tires out. I don't know if I particularly subscribe to this because I think there's a lot of room for error there, as we can push ourselves further than we actually need to go to be productive. But I'm just sharing information. So I don't recommend doing that way. I recommend just adding a couple extra reps. Make a pillow with your hands, forehead down. Reach out through the left toes this time, and you'll lift, keeping that left hip down and lower. Engaging through the core, but relaxing through the shoulders. And again, you should not feel this at all in the low back because you're not actually lifting into the low back. That hip is staying firmly on the ground. Halfway there. Two more. Last one, lift and hold. Reach out through the toes. And release. Go on to the right side. So we'll actually start with clam on this side just because I'm on the correct side to do that, and then I'll rotate and we'll do the inner thigh. So once again, hips and shoulders are in a line, head is in that same line. You bend the knees at a 90-degree angle, but the heels stay in line with the hips. Roll the left hip forward so the knees are in line. And we'll open the knees up, keeping the inner arches of the feet connected. So lift and lower. And if you've ever been to a yoga class and noticed that the teacher speeds up the second side, I think for me this is really one of my, maybe my pet peeves and my pet obsessions as a yoga teacher. But I think we all do it. But these small incongruencies, they really add up, because if you think about a traditional vinyasa class, we almost always do the right side first. 3 more. And so if you take 4 classes a week, and in each class, this is your last one, you'll hold. And in each class, you hold the right side, let's say just 3 seconds longer. I mean, at the end of the week, you've got almost 15 seconds, like a quarter of a minute longer on each side for every pose. And this can really add up over the lifetime of doing yoga. And I'm not saying that you should protest group classes or anything, but it's something to be aware of, so that maybe every other yoga class you switch sides. Some teachers are really good about timing it, and some teachers start on the left side anyway. Right foot comes in front, left toes turn slightly down, and we'll lift the left leg as high as we can and lower. And so some teachers already sort of account for this, but I think it's something that we should really take into consideration in our yoga classes if we are taking a lot of group classes, that we tend to start on the right side, and we also tend to hold the right side longer. So strengthening through the left side is really important. A lot of practices, including forest yoga, account for this, and left-handed teachers actually usually are really good at mixing things up. So find yourself a left-handed teacher. 4 more. Last one, and hold it up. Reach out through the heel as you lift. And lower down. Excellent. So we only have 2 more exercises on each side. The first one is pretty similar to something you've done with me before, and then just have your block handy for the next one. So if you need to up the intensity with this one at any point, feel free to do so by bringing a resistance band to that back foot. Bring a small bend into the right knee, and we'll start with the left leg after what I just said. Shoulders are over the hips, small bend in the right knee, and you're going to extend that left leg straight back behind you and back down, straight back and down, back and down, back and down. And you're actually working both legs here. Sorry, you're actually supposed to not tip forward. It's hard, it's habit. Last one, hold it back there. Release down. And we'll go straight to the other side. So small bend in the left knee, just because you don't want to lock into that knee. And you'll bring the right leg straight back behind you. Down, try not to pitch forward. Ooh. I actually was feeling my hips and noticing that I was standing really crazy. Couple more. And then in adjusting myself. So as you're here, really make sure that your hips are in a line. I was noticing that my right hip was lifting quite a lot. Give me 3 more on this side. And down. So now you'll want your block. I'm probably completely out of frame and I really apologize for that. But this is for hip stability mainly. So we'll start with the right foot on the block. Depending on what kind of block you have, this will be harder than others. I have a foam block, so my foot wobbles a bit. If you have a cork block, it might be a little bit easier. But you can also use like a stair step if you do step aerobics. Spread the toes wide. Start with both hips in line. I might hold on to my wall here because I'm a little off balance today. And then you'll lower the foot that's not on the block to a hover and then lift it back up. And lower and lift. So everything stays in line. You're just moving through the pelvis. So really working into that pelvic joint. Again, make sure you have a soft bend in the standing leg. 5 more. Last 2. Lift up and lower. And last thing, other side, left foot on the block, spread the toes wide. Start with the feet in a line. The hips are even. And you will lower the right foot down. And then lift the right foot up so the hips are back at equal. Lower down, the right hip dips, and then back up. Down, up. And I'm actually going to only do one more on this side. We did 10 on the other side. I'm going to stop here. You have 5 more to do, but this is my injury side and it doesn't feel great to be doing this, so I'm going to stop. Feel free to keep going. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like to stretch afterwards, I do recommend doing like a pigeon pose or a figure 4, something like this. Can be really helpful after the work we did, or even coming here and stretching the inner thighs. Today I'm not going to walk you through a cool down or any stretches, just because I'm still being really cautious about overstretching this side until I have more information about my injury. But I hope you enjoyed this class, and again, I really appreciate you being flexible with the format. I hope you're learning a little bit more about how you can stay safe in your practice. I do want to make it very clear, like, my yoga practice didn't cause an injury. This is something that built up over habitual bad movement for a very long time. So this is not something that happened suddenly. This is a movement pattern that I have that has come to a point where I need to be really cautious and really need to fix it. So be cautious about the way you carry your body. Be cautious about your repetitions. Be cautious about which foot you start on, because over time these things really do build up. But in any case, I really appreciate you showing up with me today. I hope to see you soon on your mats. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.